hey, I'm a perfectionist and I am trying to quit. I have not been able to for the past 25 years, but this time it's different. Quitting perfectionism! Yes. Surely one of these will work as a thumbnail. Yes. Okay, great. So, I think, just like with anything else that people have a hard time letting go of, right? Things that have a real grip on you, things like addiction, you can't really get away from it unless you really acknowledge why you hold on to it in the first place. And I think for many, we think that perfectionism is just an innate part of ourselves. We think that it's just who we are, how we'll always be. It's just baked into us at this point. And I think that isn't the case at all. I think that perfectionism actually is this extremely tragic expression of freedom, or at least the desire of it, right? Because perfectionism is, in my mind, and I'm sure in many of your minds, this thing that keeps doors open for us. It is in the proverbial hallway of life where you have a door where you can become a doctor, an artist, a singer, a Twitch streamer. I don't know what your dreams are. It keeps all of those doors open, right? In your career, in your friendships, in your romantic relationships, in all of life. And we think to ourselves, if I am just strong enough, if I am just smarter, if I put out this really, really polished study or this report, or I put out this really, really amazing song, then all of these doors will open and stay open for me. And I'll have the freedom to go through life and choose what I want to choose. And I will have the freedom to be loved and to give love. And that's really sad, man. That's really, really, really sad. And I think this hits extra hard for me because one of my personal struggles in my entire life is that I feel like I quit on everything, and that I've quit on more things than most people have tried things, you know? Like I feel like I'm so easy to give up, or that, you know, oh, you can't stick with anything, you're not the best at anything, you just can't commit yourself, Fareeha. And all of these things that you grow up hearing, you really start to internalize. And I don't know how many of you might relate to this, but it feels like society asks that you segment parts of yourself and that each of those parts be as good as they possibly can. Because our world is one that really, really, really rewards specialists. And our world isn't really one that gives way to generalists and people who do a little bit of everything, right? When we imagine success in any field, we imagine being able to do something so well to the point where it becomes like fiscally stable, right? That if somebody is to bring a platter of cupcakes to a birthday party and people try it and it's delicious, what is the first thing that comes out of their mouths? They say, oh my God, this is so good, you should open a bakery. Or, oh my gosh, these earrings are gorgeous, you should sell them on Etsy. And it's perfectly well-meaning, right? People are being sweet when they say that, but it is just a demonstration of how our society really, really, really puts the emphasis on something being good enough by measuring it up with its financial success and stability. And I think that in our world where the whole idea of financial stability is a little bit of a unicorn, a little bit of a luxury, and a bit of a far-fetched dream for some, I think that that's a real concern, right? The idea that you can only do what you love as a form of luxury. And so that pours even more fuel on this flame of pressure on your shoulders to be the best at what you do. And so as we, those of us who are generalists and find ourselves loving so many things, as we try to divvy ourselves up into these little delectable little truffles, right? Chop ourselves up into these pieces that are easily distinguishable, easily choosable, right? So that people can know what they're engaging with, and it's marketable, right? As we do that, I think that we lose a lot of ourselves. Because I don't know about you, but when I look at the creators out there who have one channel for this and one channel for that and another channel for this, I try to do that, I try to emulate that, and I fail completely and utterly. And I thought that, okay, maybe I just don't care enough, maybe I'm just not good enough at my job, I'm not applying myself. No, I'm just bad at chopping myself up. Okay, like I am that cut of meat on that piece of steak that you just cannot cut through, no matter how you angle that knife, right? You cannot chew it down into a swallowable piece, no matter how you try, and you're in that steakhouse looking at your date with mortification building in your eyes because you just simply do not know how you are going to sneak this large chunk of beef into the napkin, the very, very white cloth napkin, and sneak it down back onto the table without her realizing that it's actually a lump of that chewed up meat that you gave up on. And so it's a horrible situation, right? And so maybe I'm just not good at doing that. And I felt that pressure for a great deal of time. I have so many YouTube channels that have gone under. And this one, we did 4 video essays and they were fun. They were great fun. Thank you again for the reception on those, by the way. I'm very, very grateful. But I still think that that was unsustainable, and it reared its head quickly, thank goodness, but also I lament that I wasn't able to stick with it. And I think the reason why I couldn't stick with it was because of the perfectionism. It was because I felt it's so important to make the production of those videos just through the roof in quality. And not only that, but the fact that I still had to segment myself, right? I had to give up on my physical fitness. I gave up on even playing games, even though it was about the love of games. Didn't have time to. It was just video editing and writing scripts and doing stuff. And in trying to find a niche and a piece of specificity that would allow me to be everything that I am, I ended up shoving myself in a little iron cage once more. And so when the algorithm was unkind to those videos, and when they didn't do very well, or at least as well as I had hoped, it was crushing. It was crushing because it was not only the fact that I had put in all this work, it was also the mourning of all of me that I had to sever and watch die as I made this thing instead. And that's what really made it painful and unsustainable, right? Because to me, when I have to put something on the back burner, that back burner is still going. It's still alight with heat and curiosity and desire. And that back burner is slowly turning that interest into this dark, blackened chunk of coal. And it's painful, right? It smells god awful, and it sucks watching this glorious cut of meat just turn to ash and stone. And pardon all the food analogies, I'm always hungry these days. But all this to say that it was obviously unsustainable, and so it's not something I could do. And also the side of it where it was derivative work, where nothing wrong with that, but it meant that you don't really get a lot of room to create and make new things yourself, which is stifling in and of itself when that's something you really, really want to do. So, what do you do with all of this? What do you do with this insurmountable issue of feeling the knee of perfectionism upon your neck with every single thing you create, but also feeling like you have to chop yourself up in order to have the license to make stuff in the first place, in order to have the right and have the stability and the financial capability to do so? What if through all of the narratives that I have locked in my brain and all the things I believe to be true about my condition, right? About the person I am and the way that my brain works, right? The very dynamic mind that my skull hosts. What if people actually like the tough meat? What if they like the sinew and the chewiness? What if, this is a flawed analogy to do this with, what if they like the steak unchopped, right? What if they like the whole thing? What if we look past the layers of self-loathing and of all the things we tell ourselves about us not being able to see projects through, about not being able to stick with anything, about being lazy and not caring enough and being bad at our work and all of these things? What if we brush that aside for just a moment, because we have nothing to gain from thinking these things, and we think for a moment that, hey, what if there's something that only we can do with this generalist lens that we view the world with? What if? And so I start thinking, okay, well, what can I do better than all the specialists out there? Well, I am exceptionally good at talking to people because I've done so many things and I love so many things so fiercely with all my heart. I feel like I know how to ask people the right questions to get their story out, right? To see why they love the things that they do and to get them talking about the important things. And I noticed that this part has kind of been dead in my work. It's not so much at the forefront, right? I've done gaming content, I've done music content, I've done a mix of both. We've done the analytical music, video essay stuff. I'm sure I could cycle through so many more things, but the thing that has kept me and kept my flame alight on Twitch, which has been my full-time thing for the past 7 or so years, is the conversations with people. You see, I don't really love my job for the games I get to play, right? You assume that, oh yeah, Twitch streamer, you just get to play video games all day. Oh my gosh, what a treat. And don't get me wrong, yes, this job has many, many, many lovely parts about it like that, but the best thing, and the reason why I'm still doing this, is the conversations. Getting to have real discussions with people about their lives and their experiences and the things that they've learned, important topics about the world, important topics about mental health and your fitness health journey, all these things, and really stupid things like detachable penises and vaginas that you can just hot swap out. Like, how cool would that be? But all of these topics that nobody else discusses, I find them so refreshing and enlightening and important to talk about, and they've always been the backbone of why I love my job right now. And I realized that that's not really in my YouTube or my other stuff. What if we can bring that aspect of things, the aspect of people, the social aspect, and really, really drive that home with these ideas of chasing joy in the story, in the process of things, right? And that brings me to this, is I think this channel moving forward will be called In Pursuit of Joy, or Chasing Joy, or a third option if I change my mind between now and upload time. But the whole idea is that we would find joy in the process of things, joy in the journey. And I think that that's something that should be not only documented, but celebrated, right? The milestones along someone's learning abilities, along your path to your first muscle up, which I'm currently in the middle of getting. It is very, very exhilarating, super fun. But the idea would be to set myself up with various challenges and have like 5 to 10 different projects going on at once, just the way I like it, with the freedom to drop things and resume them whenever my brain latches onto it, which is something that works for me, instead of the bird with like 10 biblical wings trapped in a tiny little iron cage that's shrinking by the minute and the keys tossed through a little grate in the ground, you know? And so I'm thinking, what if we do this instead? What if we're like, oh yes, I get abs in visible abs in 100 days, or I train a day with an Olympian bobsledder or something like that, where we meet a lot of exceptional people from all walks of life, because there's so much to learn from fellow human beings, and there's such a wealth of information and experiences to be gleaned from everybody. And so what if we leaned into that and we found joy in the little moments, in being alive? And my way of doing that thing I said at the start of the video about trying to look dead in the eye at why this thing failed before. How will I make sure I can stay consistent with this? How will I make sure I won't burn out on it again? I think that so long as this is something that allows me to be my fullest self and doesn't confine me to that cage the way that previous YouTube iterations and channels have done, I think we really have something great on our hands. And I think that we could really go the distance with this, because this is truly an idea that lets me be fully me in every video, in everything that we do. And I think that that is a way to kill perfectionism, is by not just ignoring that voice that says you need to cut yourself up into little marketable, digestible, tolerable little pieces, is by saying, hey, here's the whole. Here's my whole. Oh my God, no. Here. Yes, I'm pivoting to OnlyFans. No, this is my entirety. Better. Good save. Nobody noticed that one. This is me in my entirety. And this is worth celebrating. And this is worth iterating on. This is worth growing. This is worth accepting. And so, with that, I am going to show you all around the place a little bit, because these are all the parts of me that you haven't really seen so far yet. So this is my kitchen we are in right now. I actually used to want to be a chef, but I burned myself out on cooking after working in a kitchen for a little bit, but we're getting back into it for fitness purposes. And the other half of the kitchen I've turned into a kind of cosplay den of wonders with a painting station, and down below there is this desk that pulls out, and also a nesting cabinet under it that also pulls out. Pull-out game strong, and it's got all sorts of setups for sewing things and ironing stuff, and also drafting up 3D prints. Very, very fun. Yes, and then over here is the gym. So these are the famed gymnastics rings that are nailed into the ceiling. Very, very cool. I've always wanted these. It's so nice having them in my place now, getting strong as hell. And we have a spin cycle, and also a heavy bag and some weights, as well as the adjustable dumbbells. I love those guys. Those guys are great. So that's that. But then over here, this is the studio space where all the stream stuff happens. This is the desk, but also piano, no escape. And all the instruments that I would love to learn, and am learning, sort of, at varying paces. Ignore the summer head of the cello. Ignore that entirely. But see, even this is just a portion of the skeletons I have in my hobby closet. I swear, there are so many that I don't even think there is a count anymore. Okay, there are not enough fingers in this entire apartment beyond just my unit to count the amount of skeletons in my closet. But all that to say is that my house has slowly been built into this den of items and things that I love. And I have always lamented that my career and the rest of my life don't seem to reflect that as well. So in favor of stepping towards that, of stepping towards more vulnerability, more learning, more not just perseverance through the journey, but celebration of the journey, we're gonna dive head first into that on YouTube. So moving forward, a lot more collaborations, a lot more varied content through fitness, through maybe some music challenges, maybe some guitar, some fingerstyle guitar, maybe. We'll see. And things that lean more into lifestyle talks about this, about mental health, about my experiences, about anything and everything human. And so I am scared. I am a little bit scared, you see, but I think that's a good thing. I think it's good to be a little terrified at times and to be uncomfortable. And we're gonna mess up. We're gonna have videos that absolutely freaking bomb, but that's the whole point, isn't it? So, yep, I'm gonna sign off there. But thank you so much if you listened to me yap for 21 minutes and a half. And yes, good things are coming. Let's make mistakes together. Let's walk this journey. And I'll see you soon. Much love. Mwah.